So I think, maybe if you're so well versed in Japanese, maybe just tone it down a notch.
Hey guys, this is Ivy and welcome back to my channel, Ivy Choo Train. Today we have Chris from OkanoTV.
Hello, nice to see you guys.
Some of you may know this, but Chris is actually my boss. Well, was my boss when I used to work at Odigo. I quit a few months ago to go back to school. I've received a lot of messages, comments.
Where?
On
YouTube?
Yeah.
Wow, you got some curious fans.
Some of them even emailed me.
Really?
So I was like, okay, maybe it's time for me to make a video about this on how to basically double or triple your salary in Japan, aka how to find a good boss and a good company. Okay, so my first advice would be to find a foreign company, a gaishikei company, as opposed to a Japanese company. Because at a Japanese company, usually you'll be ranked by your age. So no matter how smart or how skilled you are, you will never be paid as much as like a 50-year-old bucho or a manager or whatever. But that being said, I do think if you're a fresh graduate, you're looking for your first company to work at, I do think it's a good idea to start off at a Japanese company because it really stresses you out. You'll get good training.
But I wouldn't consider it more learning about the stressful environment. I would say it's it's better for you to start out at a Japanese company so you understand the Japanese business culture. Without understanding the Japanese business culture, you're not going to be able to know how to actually do business properly in Japan, even if you work for a foreign company. Because typically you're going to be doing business with other Japanese companies, even as a foreign company. So you need to understand certain Japanese practices, such as giving your business card, for example. There's a company employees currently with Odigo who never learned that because they never work for a Japanese company, so they don't give out their business card correctly. Japanese has all these little rules, these what they call mendokusai, kind of annoying points that are very, very necessary just for normal doing business in Japan. When I worked for my real estate investment company, which was a very, very Japanese company, actually the very first guy I got trained by my mentor, Watanabe-san.
Oh.
And he took me under his wing and he taught me all these different things about even where when you have a business meeting, where you should be sitting. If maybe it's like three people from your company, 3 people from their company, there's actually a correct seating order about where you should be sitting as opposed to where the clients are sitting and where your bosses or associates should be
and
sitting.
how you should, after you receive your business card, where you should put it and in what order, blah blah. So all of these things, if you are a fresh graduate and you go into a foreign company, you will not be able to learn these things. And Japanese people do care about things like this a lot.
Tiny little things.
So I do think it's a good idea to enter a Japanese company first. Maybe your starting salary would be like 160,000 or 180,000. Sometimes it'll be 200,000.
160. I'm not sure. I think it got raised a little bit from there.
Well,
I guess it depends on the location.
Because when I was in my first job. When I graduated, my starting salary was around that, but I lived in Kyushu, so
that's why,
living standards, whatever. I could get by, but it was hard. So I used that salary. I moved to Tokyo. My salary got raised a bit by bit, and then I met Chris, and basically he tripled my salary as compared to my first ever salary in in 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
Do you know what? She's the best worker.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so that is our first point. My second point would be to not be so Japanese, meaning if you want something, you should ask for it. So not just Japanese people, but Asians in general, don't ask for stuff. If you think you deserve a raise, if you think you deserve, a bonus or whatever, most Japanese people don't ask for it because they're shy or whatever. And it's in our nature not to ask for something that we really want.
In Asian culture in general, not to generalize the Asian people, like this one over here.
I'm Asian, it's okay if I do it.
But typically, culturally, it's in their culture not to say their point or speak out. Unlike for me, I'm an American, that's exactly what we do all the time. Yes, you should ask for it, but ask for it with some kind of analysis or evidence. So just when people say, hey, I deserve a gold mine raise or 50,000 yen raise, and my next question as a boss would be like, why? So it's very important for you to evaluate your own performance as well, comparing to the market value about why you should be getting a 50,000 yen raise. So if you are overperforming, maybe your boss is not micromanaging you, so actually doesn't know that you're overperforming. So just have like a report about why you think you're overperforming and why you're maybe doing more tasks than you were supposed to be doing, or why maybe the business is doing better because of your hard work. But that kind of analysis needs to be properly portrayed.
And also, I feel like Japanese companies sometimes, I don't know, like value foreigners over Japanese people a little bit. Like, so if, I don't know, like just if you act too Japanese, then your company will start treating you as a Japanese person. And the way they treat Japanese employees and employees who are kind of foreign is different. I'm not sure if you noticed that. Yeah, so like, for example, a female Japanese employee will be expected to pour tea, to clean up after other people, stuff like that. But a foreign female employee would not be expected to do that. But if you start acting too Japanese, then they might expect that of you. Does that make sense?
You kind of get pinned in this little bubble.
Yeah.
This Japanese bubble. Well, that's another good thing why it's good not to have perfect Japanese, because then they expect you to speak perfect Japanese and speak keigo, the honorific speech to your boss, and that becomes the most pain in the butt thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think, maybe if you're so well versed in Japanese, maybe just tone it down a notch.
Yeah, so you gotta find the fine line.
Nice balance.
Between,
That's what I always did. That's why my Japanese always seems a little.
Oh, you do it on purpose?
I do it on purpose.
Oh
Because I don't want to.
Okay, my third point is to network after work. So after work drinking is part of the business culture here. Normally you'll see male businessmen, like male employees out drinking with their boss. Normally, what I've seen at my previous companies is that everybody will go out drinking, and then the female employees would go home because they know after the first place, most people would go to like a snack bar or whatever. They know they're kind of like not welcome, or it's like it's not mandatory that they go home, but it's just common sense. It's like common sense. Like female employees will not stay after the first restaurant or first bar. But despite all that, I always stuck around because I just personally like to drink, and my boss never cared because I was a foreigner, so that's an advantage of being a foreigner in a Japanese company. I always stuck around, and there's like a good relationship between me and my boss. In some big companies, you usually do not get a chance to talk to the boss. But I always stuck around and went like to dinner parties, whatever, with them. So he introduced me to a lot of customers, to a lot of CEOs of other companies, and I think that helped me in building a better image in his eyes.
I think networking in general is kind of important, especially for the current industry that we were in. So in marketing, advertising, sales industries, it's always important to know people. People can be your biggest asset in a company. They can basically kind of expedite, if you're in sales, they can expedite a sales process, right? If you're in marketing, you can skip by talking to the associate of a client to a higher up. And so it's really important, I would say, not only going to networking or kind of drinking parties internally with your own company employees, but expanding your network outside your company by going to networking events, house parties, especially in Tokyo, just because there's a lot of foreign house parties where all the rich dudes, typically on the west side of Tokyo, we're talking about Azabajuban, Ebisu, Hiro, but kind of the foreigner rich areas, they do have a lot of kind of these house parties where you get to know, once you get to know one person, then it kind of expands you just connect your network exponentially fast. And all these people, they're not associates, they're all kind of manager or above. In typically companies, expats, typically companies that you want to stay in contact with. Then again, if you're like in the financial world, it's completely different. You'll be probably on the east side near Marunouchi, Tokyo Station area. But networking events a little bit different, where basically that's more number-based. Marketing, advertising, sales is more people-based. You need to know people, connect with the people, and so I think if you want to really expedite your career, that's the easiest way.
And like the foreign community in Tokyo is really like tight. So when I first moved to Tokyo 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't have a lot of friends here because all the graduates from my school scattered all around Japan. So I literally only hung out with one or two people. I would go out maybe once a week or something. I was like stuck in my little shell. And then after I joined Odigo, Chris told us to like go to events that his friends would have like in Tokyo or whatever, and then I started meeting more people, and it's a lot of fun, especially like being a foreigner in Japan is sometimes hard. Like you need help with life, you need advice from people who've stayed here longer than you have, so it's always nice to have a few familiar faces around.